All right, let's just dive right into this. We're going to talk about a true story about a 22-year-old who, back in 2021, put his entire life savings into crypto. And when I say everything, I mean every single dollar he had. We're going to unpack how it all just vanished, and more importantly, the critical lessons you can take away from his story.
So this was the number, $50,000. Now, for Alex, who was fresh out of college, this wasn't just some play money. This was everything. All the money he'd saved up from years of working part-time jobs. It was basically his entire future, just sitting there in one account.
And then, in less than a year, poof, it was gone. Look, this isn't a story designed to scare you away from crypto. Not at all. This is a real, true account of what can happen when all the hype and emotion takes the wheel. And the lessons packed inside this story, they could literally save your financial life.
So you're probably asking, how did this even happen? Well, let's rewind the clock to late 2020. You remember the vibe, right? The market was absolutely buzzing. Bitcoin had just smashed through $20,000 for the very first time. And it felt like everybody, on YouTube, on Twitter, even his own friends, was getting rich overnight. And Alex, he decided he wanted a piece of that action. And these were his famous last words. He told himself, I'm going to be careful. I'm not going to let greed run the show. So, true to his word, he started small. Just $1,000 into Bitcoin. Seems safe enough.
And just like that, 2 weeks later, his $1,000 turned into $2,000. That quick, easy win, it's like a drug. It planted this really dangerous seed in his mind. And the thought was so simple, but so powerful. Hey, if $1,000 can turn into $2,000 that fast, what would happen if I put everything in?
Okay, so by early 2021, the market was just on fire. And Alex, well, he felt like a genius. He felt untouchable. And that is the exact moment when a friend sends him a message about some brand new hot altcoin that was supposedly the next big thing.
This one message is all it took to trigger a massive, massive case of FOMO. The fear of missing out. It's that horrible feeling in your gut that if you don't jump on this right now, you're going to regret it forever. And that message sent Alex scrambling.
And here's where things get really important. See, Alex thought he was doing research. He was glued to YouTube videos, scrolling through Reddit posts, he joined all the Telegram groups, but every single one of those places was just shouting the same thing. Buy, buy, buy. He wasn't getting real information. He was trapped in an echo chamber that was just telling him what he wanted to hear.
So, on February 3rd, 2021, he did it. He pulled the trigger. He transferred his entire $50,000 life savings into this one single altcoin. And for 3 weeks, man, life was a dream. He just watched his portfolio skyrocket from $50,000 to $80,000, and then it peaked at an insane $110,000. He was already making plans, to pay off his parents' house. He never sold a single coin.
And then came May 2021. The entire market just turned on a dime. Bitcoin itself dropped by 50%. But for those smaller, way riskier altcoins, like the one Alex was holding, it wasn't just a drop. No. It was a complete and total catastrophe.
I mean, just look at this. The coin went from a high of $2.40 all the way down to 8 cents. The price didn't just dip, it basically evaporated into thin air. And the effect on his portfolio was, well, it was instantaneous and just utterly devastating.
This is the number Alex woke up to one morning. His $110,000 dream had collapsed. All that was left was $3,800. In just 72 hours, his life savings were just gone. I mean, can you imagine? He just sat in his room for days, just refreshing the screen, hoping, praying for a miracle that was never going to come.
So let's do the postmortem. Let's break down exactly what went wrong here. Because Alex's story is pretty much a textbook example of the 5 most common, most destructive mistakes that new investors make, especially in a crazy market like crypto.
And right here, this is the anatomy of the disaster. Let's walk through it. First, zero diversification. He put every single egg into one super high-risk basket. Second, he risked way, way too much. His entire life savings, money he absolutely could not afford to lose. Third, he got social media hype confused with actual real research. And this one is so crucial. He had no exit strategy. No plan to take profits when he was up over 100%, and no plan to cut his losses when things went south. His entire strategy was just pure emotion, driven by FOMO and hope.
But you know what? The story doesn't end there. It doesn't end with him hitting rock bottom. So what happened, Alex? He could have just quit, walked away forever. But he didn't. Instead, he started learning. Like for real this time.
He spent the next year just burying himself in books, learning about risk management, diversification, actual market fundamentals. He started over with just a couple $100, and by 2023, by slowly and carefully applying these incredibly hard-won lessons, he had rebuilt his portfolio back up to $18,000.
So, here's the real point of all this. Did he get the 50 grand back? No. But what he gained from that absolute disaster of a loss was priceless. It was knowledge. In a space this new, this volatile, your strategy, your discipline, and what you actually know, that's your most important asset. It's worth so much more than one lucky bet.
We're explaining Alex's story so that hopefully you don't have to live it yourself. It's such a powerful reminder to always, always do the work. Start small, learn first, and then, only then, invest second. Because you know what? A good strategy will beat blind luck every single time in the long run.